SCP-001, SCP-002, SCP-003, SCP-040, SCP-041. Welcome to the SCP Foundation. Access to ciphers granted. Well, you are something special, aren't you? I just keep running into you, don't I? Well, I mean, I can't possibly be running into you. Being a pre-recording and all, and looks like you can't either. Froze you solid, wow. They really hate you. But I don't. No. Me and you are buddies. And you're getting out of here. It's been a while. So let me reintroduce myself. I'm Adam. And if you're here and hearing me, then, well, we've stumbled upon a marvellous temporal partnership. With you being there and me being sort of here. Let's access some ciphers to thaw your frozen prison. SCP-042, a formerly winged horse. Referred to as the Horse. Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. The Horse is currently housed within Minimum Security Paddock 12 at Bioresearch Area 32. Disinclination to attempt escape at this point, security measures must still be maintained at all times. Previous attempts to maintain the health of the ground cover in Paddock 12 have failed to date. Despite regular watering, the horse's presence leaves the ground parched wherever it treads. As it has not been determined what happened to added water, the program of watering has been discontinued as unnecessary and potentially hazardous to the local water table. Monitoring of local well levels and sampling of the area's water is to be carried out on a weekly basis. Personnel interacting with the horse, including any handlers, medical personnel, feeders and custodial staff, must submit to a thorough search, including data redacted. Prior to entrance into Paddock 12, any personnel attempting to smuggle a weapon or an object which can be used as a weapon is to be immediately. Personnel are to undergo psychological screening once per week after interacting in any way with the horse. Medical personnel examining the wounds of the horse's back are to be closely monitored at all times, lest they attempt to euthanize the horse. Description: the horse is an animal believed to be a member of the genus Equus. Its coat is white in color, with some small brown spotting. It stands at 183 centimeters to its withers and weighs 710 kilograms. Its weight has dropped significantly since it has been in the Foundation's custody, due to both atrophy from lack of physical activity and refusal to eat. The liquid nutrient diet forcibly administered keeps it alive, but it remains emaciated and weak. The horse exhibits two large bone protrusions from its back, linked to powerful musculature, now atrophied throughout its back. These bones end at 37 centimeters from the surface of its back, and they protrude from the skin at open, ragged wounds. To date, no healing has been observed of these wounds, though some clotting must be taking place for the horse to not have bled out. The horse exhibits a listless demeanor and has been unresponsive to any attempt by skilled handlers to incite activity. If allowed to do so, the horse will lay down on the ground immobile, not moving to eat, drink, or relieve itself. Pain response conditioning has proved somewhat effective in getting the horse to rise so that it can be cleaned, but eventually it will attempt to lay down again, no matter the strength of the shock administered, even to the point of losing consciousness. Researchers are divided as to the horse's level of intelligence. While some believe that it is simply an animal and no smarter than others of its genus, others have come to believe that it may in fact be sapient. It has been shown to make eye contact with persons entering Paddock 12, most of whom describe its look as pleading. The horse has been involved in accidents on multiple occasions, where it has been injured on pieces of its equipment or its enclosure, with those arguing for intelligence believing to have been intentionally caused by the horse. Addendum. A request was submitted by Dr. to transfer the horse to Bioresearch 4 on date redacted, which was approved by 05-5. Dr. alerted transportation documents to indicate that the horse was to be airlifted rather than transported by armed convoy. During transit, Dr. overpowered the pilot of the transport aircraft and took the controls, plunging the craft into a steep dive. Passengers and cargo experienced nearly a minute of weightlessness before security personnel regained control of the aircraft and leveled off. As Dr. was being bound and the plane landed, the horse broke free of containment and kicked 2 security personnel to death in the cargo area. Cargo-based security footage shows that after this point, the horse approached Dr. and touched its muzzle to his face. Dr. exhibited signs of euphoria while contact was maintained, but when additional security personnel subdued the horse with tranquilizer darts and contact was broken, he collapsed into a catatonic state from which he did not recover. After a hearing concerning his actions, Dr. was euthanized while under Foundation medical care on date expunged. This concludes SCP-042, a formerly winged horse. SCP-043, the Beetle. Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. The Beetle requires no special containment, although it is recommended that the Beetle not be used for purposes other than testing. A turntable is to be maintained in the same room for testing. Description. The Beetle appears to be a vinyl record copy of The White Album by the Beatles. However, upon closer inspection, the record has no grooves. In spite of this, the record will play from start to finish regardless of the starting position of the needle. When the 29th track is reached, instead of playing Revolution 9, the disc stops spinning and faint breathing can be heard. Occasionally, the entity responsible for the breathing will speak in a male voice. The entity will respond to questions and shows a profound encyclopedic knowledge of the music industry, musical theory, and obscure trivia about many bands and artists. However, the entity refuses to answer questions regarding the Beatles or its own personal details. Inside the jacket, a small handwritten note was found reading, "Limited edition, 1 of 1. Thanks, John." This concludes SCP-043, the Beetle. SCP-044, World War II era Molecular-Fission Canon, referred to in this SCP as the Canon. Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. A constant stream of hydrogen ions, unbound oxygen atoms, and other trace free radicals emanate from the muzzle of the cannon at all times. Because of this, the docking stations of the cannon are to be well ventilated to keep dangerous gases and moisture from accumulating. Muzzle coverings are to be fitted at all times to keep birds and small animals from investigating the large open barrel of the cannon. Addendum. Date expunged. As the cannon has not been involved in any significant incidents in the years it has been held by the Foundation, the cannon has been reclassified as safe.
Must I really define significant incidents? If containment procedures and standard safety protocols are followed, the cannon appears to be no more dangerous than any other big gun. No, the bear incident does not count.
Dialogue by Personnel 05. Description. The cannon is a howitzer, secretly manufactured in the late stages of the Second World War by Krupp engineers, personally supervised by Albert Speer, German Minister of Armaments and War Production under Adolf Hitler. The cannon is unique not only because of its size, 251,000 kilograms, or 251 metric tons, but also because it fires unconventional artillery using an atypical delivery method. Rather than having a breech for loading shells, the rear of the barrel is configured into a massive air compression chamber. Any object or pile of objects that fit may be loaded into the cannon's muzzle to be used as ammunition. Because of its size, the cannon must remain rail-mounted and requires 2 freight locomotives to move. Researchers believe that the cannon weakens molecular and atomic bonds in any material loaded into its muzzle. However, the method by which the cannon affects molecular bonds is not known, due primarily to the numerous complex mechanisms that compose the housing and workings of the cannon. In fact, some mechanisms appear useless and seem to do nothing other than spin or make noise, even when the cannon is not supplied with power. Both equipment and personnel have been lost while exploring the inside of the cannon's barrel. When the cannon is fired, all matter within its barrel is ejected at a high rate of speed as a glowing red slug, proportional in size to the amount of mass loaded into the muzzle. Upon striking a solid object or the ground, the slug explodes with a yield proportional to the mass of the original ammunition, at no less than a % mass to energy conversion rate. The yield will also increase somewhat the longer the slug remains in the barrel. The greatest known yield was achieved when the administrator's 8,900 kilogram personal diesel pickup truck was loaded in its entirety into the muzzle of the cannon and fired as an experiment. And this concludes SCP-044, a World War II era molecular-fission cannon. SCP-045, Atmospheric Converter, here onwards referred to as the Converter. Object Class, Safe. Special Containment Procedures. The Converter is to be kept affixed to an examination platform in a hemispherical chamber, measuring 5 meters in radius at Oceanographic Research Station 12, located on the sea floor of the Pacific Ocean. The chamber is to be kept filled with gaseous neon at equilibrium pressure with the surrounding environment. The chamber is separated from habitable portions of the station by 5 meters of local seawater, and all interactions with the converter are to be performed via telepresence or robotic means. The bindings that attach the converter to its platform are fitted with quick-release latches, which are to be released when necessary to prevent a containment breach. Given the seismic activity associated with the converter, if the containment chamber is damaged or breached by seismological activity, the converter should be recovered by remotely controlled drone vehicles and kept at least 10 meters from human-inhabited spaces until such time as repairs can be completed to the optimal containment chamber. Description: the converter is an icosahedron composed of ice-12, heavily occluded with planar fractures in a regular, complex pattern. The converter has an average radius of 1.7 meters and density of 2.6 grams per centimeter cubed, which is approximately twice that of a non-anomalous ice-12. Ice-12 being a metastable form of water ice that is typically formed only within a narrow range of very high pressures and temperatures. The converter remains in a stable state at temperatures ranging from 0.075 to 500 Kelvin, approximately -207 Celsius to 227 Celsius, and pressure ranging from 0.4 pascals to 3 gigapascals, approximately 3.95 microatmospheres to 29,600 atmospheres. Although it is possible to melt or vaporize the converter at temperatures and pressures outside of these ranges, the H2O involved is attracted to itself by unknown means and will remain within very close proximity unless forcibly separated. The water will refreeze as soon as conditions return to a position inside the converter's stable range, and any subportions kept separate prior to refreezing will refreeze into smaller icosahedrons identical in form and properties to the total amount of the converter. Based on available evidence, it is currently believed that the converter is a three-dimensional projection of a hypericosahedron, a regular polyhedron that exists in 4 spatial dimensions and has 6 regular tetrahedral facets. Research is ongoing to determine how the converter is able to maintain a stable, lower dimensional projection, and whether this can be adapted for use when interacting with other dimensionally anomalous SCP items, at unpredictable intervals ranging from 2 weeks to 3 months. The converter will spontaneously rotate around multiple axes simultaneously for a period no longer than 73 seconds. During this period, a series of small seismic events below 2.5 on the Richter scale will occur in the immediate area of the converter. If the converter is prevented from rotating, the seismic events increase in strength logarithmically to a maximum of 5.3 on the Richter scale. Following the end of the rotation period, the radius of the converter's effect will temporarily double for the same amount of time that it rotated. When gaseous nitrogen, or argon, of which nitrogen composes approximately 78% of the Earth's atmosphere by volume, argon composing approximately 0.93% of the Earth's atmosphere by volume, comes within 3.7 meters of any portion of the converter, they are replaced by different compounds. Nitrogen is replaced by liquid water at a conversion rate of 1.0 nitrogen and 1.98 mole H2O outputted. Argon is replaced by crystalline sodium chloride, also known as table salt, at a conversion rate of 1 mole of argon to 4.26 mole of sodium chloride. The converter was discovered in 1972 when a Foundation submarine scouting the Pacific Abyssal Plain for suitable locations for undersea bases was diverted to investigate the epicenter of a series of unexpectedly localized, strong tremors. The converter was found lodged in a crevice which had apparently prevented it from rotating. When removed from the crevice, it was brought towards the vessel for further study and, upon coming within range of the interior atmosphere, exhibited its anomalous effects. This resulted in a catastrophic breach of internal containment protocol and the loss of 12 crew members prior to the converter being released and the submarine moving out of range. Addendum. Following several years of testing, it was accidentally discovered that the converter also converts hydrogen gas into a random mixture of simple amino acids at a rate of 1 mole of H2 to 0.04 mole amino acids. However, this conversion only occurs when the gas is diffused in saline water, such as that produced by the converter. Analysis of the seafloor surrounding the location where the converter was discovered has revealed a large community of microfauna and microflora that is approximately 3 times as diverse as would be expected given the geography and location. All have biochemistry wherein the amino acids produced by the converter are statistically overabundant as compared to microbiota from similar geologic regions. Additionally, all thrive when immersed in pure salt water devoid of other organic materials. This concludes SCP-045, the Atmospheric Converter. SCP-046, Predatory, Hollybush, to be referred to as the Hollybush. Object Class, Usalid. Special Containment Procedures. The land surrounding the Hollybush has been purchased and surrounded by multiple layers of security, including fencing, barricades, and lethal effect traps. Multiple signs marking the area as private property are to be prominently displayed. The area is to be heavily guarded at all times to prevent access by civilians to the Hollybush. All personnel working around or within a 50-kilometer radius of the Hollybush are to undergo rigorous medical testing to ensure the absence of any potentially life-threatening illnesses. Additionally, increased mental health examinations are to be administered to ensure that no personnel inclined or potentially inclined towards self-harm or self-destructive tendencies are allowed within the 50-kilometer radius. Any injured personnel are to be evacuated to a hospital outside the 50-kilometer zone around the Hollybush. All vegetation surrounding the Hollybush is to be destroyed, and all animals attempting to access the Hollybush are to be terminated and destroyed before reaching its outer perimeter. Any personnel showing unusual interest either in the Holly Bush or in traveling to the region near the Holly Bush, are to undergo medical examinations as detailed above. Any modifications to these containment procedures are to be approved by O5 Command before being added to this containment document. Any personnel attempting to modify this document without appropriate authorization are to be demoted and reassigned. Description: the Holly Bush is a predatory botanical mass located in southwestern Kentucky. The Holly Bush is composed of two parts. Part 1 is a large mass of vegetative matter, composed largely of plant indigenous to the region, including Quercus alba, Ilex aquifolium, and Lonicera sempervirens, though several offshoots composed of other plant species are also present. Part 2 is the land in the immediate vicinity of Part 1, extending to a roughly circular area 20 meters in radius from its base. This area is the Holly Bush's primary feeding area. The Holly Bush is capable of attracting prey within a 50-kilometer radius through hallucinogenic means. All evacuations of personnel should carry them outside of this radius to disable the Holly Bush's effect. Animals, including humans, suffering from potentially life-threatening physical injuries or diseases, or who are afflicted by psychological disorders that induce self-destructive tendencies, feel a powerful compulsion to come to Part 2 of the Holly Bush and lie in a prostrate position facing Part 1 of the Holly Bush. Individuals lying in such a position are rapidly attacked by an unusually powerful combination of saprophytic organisms and opportunistic infections, including several strains of methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, MRSA, known to induce necrotizing fasciitis, also known as flesh-eating bacteria, a form of fungal spore similar to Stachybotrys chartarum, or black mold, which poisons prey organisms and induces paralysis, and finally, complete consumption by several heretofore unknown species of insect that emerge from inside of Part 1 of the Holly Bush during the final stage of feeding. The Holly Bush appears to derive nutrition through the complete digestion of affected individuals, particularly large mammals such as humans. It is unknown if the Holly Bush is capable of growth. As such, all steps are to be taken to ensure that the Holly Bush is deprived of prey until more information is known about its abilities. These efforts are to include terminating individuals prior to their arrival at the Holly Bush and disposing of their bodies in a separate location. Addendum 046A. Investigation is ongoing into potential memetic effects brought about by knowledge of the Holly Bush, due to anomalous effects demonstrated by certain personnel in response to the Holly Bush. Access to document 04607 is restricted to level 4 personnel and above. And this concludes SCP-046, Predatory Holly Bush. Ah yes, I can hear it now. Music to my receptors, beautiful. Tick-tock, my frozen buddy. Looks like me and you have a lot of catching up to do. Don't worry, plenty of pre-recordings of my soothing voice ready for your ear canals to digest in time. Once that ice starts to melt, well, let's just say we're going to be going places. I've got more ciphers on the way, of course. So rest for now. Looks like I'll have to put you on ice. Ah yes, the alarms are blaring.
Brilliant.
The Foundation must be wondering what the hell is going on. But we're just getting started. Well, my lovely listeners, I hope you enjoyed today's SCP episode. This Friday I'm thinking of doing a Japanese story or perhaps something different. And if you want more SCPs, well, let me know. I'm planning on doing some more next week as well. I can't get enough of them myself. So have a lovely day or night. And as always, till next time.